Good morning to you, Robert. Very nice to have you again. Sanjay, I must tell you, Robert Weiler comes from a intersect of three states, somewhere near Kansas. Don't ask me which of the three states. Yeah. He
If
lives
he's near
outside.
Kansas, he would be what? Kansas, Missouri, and
Right.
Illinois?
Not Illinois. Illinois is way too north. Good evening, Niranjan. Namaskar to you, as usual. You're there.
Namaskar, Hari and everybody. Oh, Sanjay, hi. Namaskar,
Sanjay.
Sanjay.
Yeah, your dear friend is
All
going
good?
to be leading.
Apparently. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Morning,
Hi,
Robert.
Robert.
Hi, hi.
I'm trying to. Good morning, everyone. It's good
Good.
to see you all again. I've been a little bit distressed and put out for a few weeks here. Haven't been able to join.
All right.
Ah,
I was wondering, as a matter of fact, the last two editions were very interesting, the sort of thing that you will want to sort of engage upon, but we missed you.
I
So where do
know.
you come from? Yeah, you are at the intersect of three states. What are those three states?
Uh, I live in the southwest corner of Missouri. Oklahoma is just
ah,
south, and Kansas is just west, a couple miles either direction.
Got it. There you are,
They're
Sanjay.
wanting
Sanjay
to
was,
they're wanting to put in a large data center here in
ah,
our location where I live, and I've been working on coming up with 120 megawatts of solar power for the new data center, and that has taken me back a couple of weeks trying to put that project together. So I'm back on the water, solar, and vaccine combination for India with my buddy Bill Gates. Nice to see you all today.
very
now
good.
that data
Well,
center, 120 megawatts, what is the quantum of water it consumes every day?
phew,
The the good thing that we are going to do here is we have an old quarry that is 100 meters deep that we can sink a pipe and a bag down into. It covers 6 hectares, so there's enough room to put the bags and stages of 60 megawatts at a time for the total of 220. So there'll be four, you might say, variable online systems that come and go based on the weather here. We have a lot of wind in Kansas, so we have wind.
yep.
We're going to add the
Well,
solar, and the
Right.
yeah.
heat and water goes into the quarry and right back into the system
Yeah.
again. So it's 100%
Mhm.
You know,
recirculated.
in effect, in some ways, Robert, what you're saying is, and that is the theme of today's discussion. You are saying that you are 120 megawatts, let's say 60 megawatt into two, and just back of envelope kind of mental math tells me that you're talking in the region of about 20 million liters per day of consumption. And if I were to reckon with 350 days, you know the math, 350 into 20, we are talking 7 billion liters, 7,000 million liters of water, right? I know you talk in gallons, I mean, out in, uh,
I understand liters very well. I've been a
so,
chemist for a
so
long time.
yeah, yeah. So you see, I mean, and good evening to all of you here. This is our challenge, and this is a regular data center that Robert Weiler is talking about, talking from, well, let's say northeast of Kansas. What
This
we
is
are interested.
one out of 20 they want to build. It's a
Yeah.
lot of water.
Ooh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Fortunately, using an old quarry with a volume of water, we can recirculate it and not have to
If,
and not
if,
need fresh
okay,
water and downstream.
okay. Yeah, Robert, I thought I'd let it pass since for the third time you are saying that it's a quarry. Can you tell us what would be the approximate volume of that quarry, the depth and the area? What do you know?
100 meters deep. by about 3 hectares of surface area.
Wow, 100 meters deep,
It's a
3
sizable thing.
hectares, 7.5 acres
Yeah.
into 100. So 28,000, 30,000 square meters by 100. 30 lakhs, 3
That's
million.
that
That's
that's the
3
main
million into
part.
1,000. That's 3 billion liters. That's your
That's
volume,
just
3
the
billion
main
liters.
that's the main body of water. At
Okay.
the base of that, there are shafts that go back into the formations that are also full of water. When the mine was operating, they were burning coal from Kansas to run the electricity to pump the water out of the mine. So we're going to reverse that process.
So you see, Sanjay, I will now request you to sort of see what you can tell us. The challenge is that everything is related to money, right? And it's going to be
Yes.
now. He's talking of perhaps, I'm assuming that he's talking of a regular data center. If it's going to be an AI-led data center, wow, the same number, it's 2.5 times more than a regular data center. I have still
Yes.
not figured out what the difference is and why it consumes so much more water. In
Computing power.
Visakhapatnam on the
Pure and
east coast
simple.
now, in Vizag, we
Yeah.
have Google coming up. And Google is now saying that they're going to put up 1,500 megawatt of an
Yeah.
AI-led data center. Okay, no.
Yeah.
So where do you think we are going and what is this DSM about and what should we do with it?
All right. So let me address the Vizag thing first. At least, in India, people have been a little smarter and they're putting the data centers on the coast where water is available. Okay. They're not putting it in our equivalents of Kansas, other places like that where water can be an issue. I mean, Oklahoma and all, I think that area is is now third year of low water rainfall in a strong drought that's been affecting the Southwest for a few years now. So at least there's some planning. Okay. In India, okay, now I'll give you a little background here. A few years back, I was responsible for uh, doing the preliminary design for the 24/7 water network for Pune City. I left the company after we got the contract, but a lot of the work had been done before. But see, that addresses both the topic here. How do you ensure water is available? Okay, whether it's for people, for corporates, or for agriculture. And it's literally a question of how you look at it, whether you're looking at just ensuring that there's adequate water supply available, or you're trying to manage the demands, the requirements, and all in different ways. It literally comes down to that. Now, my company has been involved in both aspects of it. Okay, the supply side as well as the demand side. It's not easy. Let me be very clear about that. It's not just about money. Okay, money is always a factor. Okay, but more than that, you have to start out with an assumption that you cannot change people's behavior. Okay, if there is enough water, people will waste water. If water is scarce, people will conserve water. Okay, it's as simple as that. You are never going to be in a situation where people will conserve water in areas where there's enough water. Okay, I disagree with people who say you can do it in cities like Pune, Bangalore, etc. It's my experiences, it will never happen. Okay.
Why do you believe it won't happen?
It people's nature. Okay.
No, but in this case, sorry.
Hmm.
Supposing I told
Yeah.
you that we do not want people to make any behavior change. We don't want them, like our grandmothers told us foolishly, use less of this, less of that, is not what we want. We
Yeah.
want people to, as demand side, let us say, we want people to have basic compensating aerators, pressure compensating aerators. We want people to have, let's say, it's some measure, some system that measures how much they are using in their apartment or their factory or whatever,
Understood.
which will tell them what.
Yeah.
What stops
Understood.
people from doing these things at the very basic level, which are all low
Yeah.
hanging fruits? They don't cost much.
Yeah. Understood. See, look, metering is inevitable. Here in Pune, most societies are now metered. Uh, those who are not metered will be metered. Smart meters, our society has smart meters coming into the society that captures how much water we get. However, and here's the catch, okay? Remember the way things are set up in India. We are living in apartment buildings. Most of us do not have bungalows or villas and all that. It can be independently metered. So you're metering the building. Okay. You could have individual flats being very careful, and you could have people who are happily wasting water. Because in the end, the water bill will be divided equally. You cannot put meters on every flat because the way it's structured, it's by ducts. So the pipe will be coming in from 3, 4, depending on how many bedrooms it is.
Got it.
And that's on each flat, each floor. And then how do you read it, etc., etc., etc.? There's 101 problems. So
Do we
basic
think
thing
so?
is we are not set up for it.
Actually, a lot of even what you are telling me tells me that there is a certain amount of, shall we say, relative ignorance on how simple these systems are, how little they cost, how quickly you
Yes.
can recover the money that you put into it. Right?
Correct.
And see, for example, if I were to go further and talk about rivers, I mean, now each of us,
Yeah.
you come from a river, I mean, a city which has Mula and Muta, Dehradun has got Tons and Rispana and three other rivers. Every one of us come from some, I mean, Shaktibai is coming from where he's got Vashish. Apurva is coming from that dreadful thing that they created called Sabarmati, which has no water. Thanks to Narmada, it got water. So if we explained it at the city level, would that be demand side? Would that be supply side? I don't know. Let's go to Pawan Kumar to see what he has to offer. Pawan,
Hari Haran ji.
first, before you speak, Pawanji, first, I'm so happy to see you. I'm seeing you after the stent and whatever else. It's a very simple thing. We all know it's not too complicated. It's very nice that you have a doctor in the family as a daughter.
Yes, yes.
Go ahead. Please tell us.
Yeah. Thank you, Hari Haran ji. Yeah. So, my take on this very interesting topic is that, with time, the awareness comes, and people also understand the value of water, or they don't understand the value of water. It's like a cyclic process, actually. It is an awareness like the corona time, for example. So suddenly everyone became very, very sensitive about their health, and no infection and very precautions. But as soon as the corona time passed, after a couple of months, everything was back to square one. So it is exactly like the same. I'm giving an analogy. Similarly, like the green revolution happened initially, yes, people are not interested, but after a certain period of time, when you understand, then people are understanding the importance of nutrition, and pesticides and poisoning and all that things. So with water also, it's going to happen in the same way, in a different trajectory it will take, because water is something that we require on a daily basis. So the demand and supply of the water, the topic that we are going to discuss today, is, I think, something that we need to understand. And this demand part, which is very easy as compared, the supply part is very easy to implement. But as far as the demand side, something that we are trying to discuss, is a very touchy topic based on so much of these factors. And so a continuous kind of thing, unless people understand, because they will go back to, as soon as the water becomes surplus and as soon as things become normal, the behavior will
Sure.
go back into their own this
So,
thing.
Pawanji, I'll get you to be a little more specific. You have worked, you are among the very few here in the Wow Group itself who works with farmers, thousands of farmers you're
Yes.
working.
Yes.
Your work is clearly demand side. You are telling them, I say, what are the things you can do to reduce cultivation water? Sinchai ka
Yes.
pani.
Yes.
Now, if that is the case, from what you have seen, you are saying demand side is difficult, quote unquote. But the work you have done has clearly secured you respect, admiration, and gratitude of these farmers whom you have worked with, and because they have seen bottom line results that are very measurable. That means demand side is acceptable, not difficult. Difficult is a question of communication, I think. Would you want to respond on this, please?
Yeah, I think what you're saying is that farmers also realize because they are more connected with nature than us. They are much more sensitive to nature because on a day-to-day basis, especially the farmers who are actually working on the field and who observe the rhythms of nature, they'll be very, very sensitive to all these things. But not all of them will be like that. So what I have seen is that when it comes to conserving the natural resources, whether it's soil, whether it's water, I think the farmers who really work on the land, they don't work through, the labor's concept. They'll be sensitive and they'll be trying to conserve the land and they'll be monitoring also. So it is something like the self monitoring which becomes very very important because no government, the soil health card is thrown by most of the farmers to do the dustbin when the even the soil testing is done. So anything which is coming from outside which is not acceptable and which does not become part of the behavior will get dusted and thrown away and it will never get utilized. So that is what I have seen. But at the same time, when we see that we involve the farmers in the collection of the soil and whatever samples that we are taking, and we explain the whole process to them as a family, not as an individual, because when the extension agencies go to the farmer, they think, okay, I catch the person who is the head of the family, which is usually the male, and then he takes or the decisions. But then the entire family is not, involved. So unless that happens, then the whole exercise becomes goes
That's
into
from
vain.
your point of view. But let see again, even the work that Sanjay Deshpande does, what
Yeah.
does he do? He goes to a village, he takes all the wastewater that is coming off the settlement, which will be typically about 10-12% of the entire panchayat land. He quantifies the quantum of water that's flowing out, puts a system for treatment, and then gives that water back to them as cultivation water. He's also doing demand side.
Yes.
He's not definitely not doing supply side.
Yes.
Sanjay, any thoughts on what Pawan is saying now? See, Pawanji is saying, hey, dekho, it's not so easy. I need to get the woman of the family, the children, probably the younger, the older sons and whatever of the family. The farmer himself has to agree. And these are people who are very, very stuck on certain kinds of views. And I'm sure you've seen that too. They'll tell you, अरे आप लोग सब
Yeah.
लोग आते हैं वैसे शहर से क्या जानेंगे आप? This cynicism will be very, very high, right?
Yeah.
So, how have you dealt with this, and what is supply side? I mean, is it demand side for you? Is it supply side for you? What you do? You might be
Okay. Now,
supplying water, cultivation water, but it
yeah.
is demand side.
Okay, I am doing both. Okay, supply and demand. Let's be very frank. It just depends on there are two sides of the same coin. It just literally depends on how you look at it. Okay, consider. Let's take two examples. Actually, let's take three examples. I actually think urban is the easiest. Uh, Corporate, and then are the villages. In urban, demand side is actually quite simple. Okay, you'll hear a lot of terms tossed around. Okay, water loss, non-revenue water, things like that. They will throw a lot of words at you. But the fact of the matter is, okay, right now, as per CPHU, you need 135 liters per person.
It's
Water
becoming
supply. That's the
90,
goal.
probably
Yeah,
100.
no, forget about that. The goal is 135. In fact, in Pune, the goal is 157 now. Okay, forget about that. The thing about it is why people don't ask why so much water. Okay, it's because we have not rationalized the water supply network. If you rationalize it and you go towards, instead of an intermittent system where you get water for 2 hours a day or something, to a 24/7, where the pipes are charged with water all day long, okay, the water consumption goes down from 135 to 90 in urban areas, okay, because people are no longer having to store it in underground tanks, overhead tanks, in buckets at home and things like that, because water supply is irregular. If they are confident that water will always be there when they open the tap, water usage drops. Okay, this is something that has been proven again and again. There are plenty of case studies from North Karnataka where the World Bank toured small towns, mid-sized towns, and all, and saw that the water supply, water requirement in a town dropped because they went to a 24/7 system. The other advantage of it is once you have a 24/7 and the pipes are charged with water, you cannot have any leakages.
So this is
Okay,
another
in
thing,
the system.
Sanjay.
So there's no wastage.
Go on, finish.
Okay, so you can manage demand by putting in a better network in urban areas. Okay, you can also put in things like less water using toilets, taps. There are 101 things you can do. We are getting there in India. We are not there as yet, where we can have a large enough pool of easy to repair such parts that are affordable to repair. You're not going to convince every middle class family to put in these devices right now, because when they break, you basically have to throw them away and put a new one in. So we're not there as yet. So they're still comfortable with the old system. Our building, for example, has a direct flush. It doesn't have a water tank in every flat. Okay, a water tank in every flat, every bathroom will save a lot of water. But this building was designed with direct to every toilet. So we cannot change it now. Okay, without adding a lot of cost, which the members are not willing to bear. Okay, it's all these factors have to be taken in. That's in the urban part. But there are many things you can do. Like I said, all these gadgets, 24/7ing, there's so many things you can do to reduce the problem and manage the demand as well as the requirement for supply.
Right.
Now, corporate is a low-hanging fruit. I don't think everybody tackles it. Now, I am doing both in corporates. I am helping corporates figure out where the water is going inside their units, figuring through water audits, figuring out how to mitigate it, how to recycle the maximum. So that takes care of the demand. But I'm also doing supply. There are units that need water. Okay, and there is no water available locally. So I'm sewering communities, capturing all the wastewater, piping it to the unit, treating it, and then using it for process. So both supply and demand is being addressed, sometimes in the same unit. Now, I've run into people who say maybe tariffs is an answer. Okay, maybe if we raise the cost of the water, it will make corporates be careful and conserve the usage of water. To some extent, yes, that's true. Okay, but to large extent, my experience is it's more likely the corporate will simply shut down the unit and move somewhere where water is cheaper. Okay, because they cannot pass on the cost to consumers. There's only so much they can pass on. If consumers stop using it or start getting cheaper imported items or something, where does it leave us?
Yeah,
so there's a limit to how much we can raise tariffs on industries. Industries already pay way more tariffs than houses.
No, it's not about tariff at all. It's not about tariffs. Okay, I'm stopping you there because
Yeah.
I have a sense that you are skirting the central more relevant sets of things that we can address. Pawanji, if you have anything you can add, if
Yeah.
you, yeah. And after that, I will request Apurva to speak. He is a champion of many such, on-ground kind of solutions. Srikant Narayan Swami has been doing some interesting things on the demand side on water. Over to you, Pawanji.
Yeah. So in the rural areas,
No,
especially where
first
the
I
government,
request you to see whether you disagree, agree with our Sanjay Deshpande,
yeah,
and then go to, because we don't want to be nice to each other. If you think
yeah,
he's
yeah,
wrong, I think
absolutely.
you've got to
No,
give
no,
your
no.
yeah.
I'm coming to that. I'm coming
All
to
right.
that, and
Yeah, yeah.
and giving the context of the rural areas, especially when the solar powered this uh, water lifting schemes have been established. Now, since the power is free in the solar and there's a huge subsidy, 90% subsidy is there have been many instances where the farmer said, okay, पानी तो निकल ही रहा है, बिना बिजली के निकल रहा है.
Exactly.
So, and there's a lot of wastage actually. So that is why my initial this thing of the behavior change, when there is a surplus, people will tend to waste, which we are discussing earlier also. So only when the crisis is there, then only people become sensitive and there's a hue and cry and all that kind of thing. So, and in the rural areas, the farmers will have lot of requirements of water. Apart from the household, you have the livestock, you have the washing and the irrigating the fields. So a lot of requirements are there, for which water has been a very precious resource in everywhere, wherever. So the government build the canals or whatever to irrigate, or there's so many schemes. I have myself seen in the mountains, because water is such scarce and much scarce than it is in the plains. The number of pipelines which are there, rubber pipelines which were there in the mountain area, is just crazy, and there are a lot of conflicts because of that. And especially when the springs dry up in the summer months. Now, when the crisis is there is more conflict, there is more tension, and there is much more demand for water. So there is.
You're talking 35 years later, 91, 92, you and I have met in Serenity
Yes, yes,
Conclave.
yeah,
And at that time in Suokholi and then beyond on that road to Chamba from Mussoorie, there
yes,
was some work on rejuvenation of natural springs.
yeah.
और 35 साल के बाद वही कह रहे हो आप, वही दोहरा रहे हो आप
वही है,
कि
वही है,
springs are dying, springs have gone extinct.
absolutely.
What are we doing with ourselves as humans? I don't know.
Yeah,
Now,
बिल्कुल.
I'll turn you back to the work you are doing on demand side. See, now if I were to take, let's say, the regular farmer in the Ganga Jamna Dua, right? Who is now growing, shall we say, some cereal, wheat or something he's growing.
Sugar
To
cane,
a,
yeah.
to a sugar cane, wow, even more, even
Even,
better.
yes,
So to every hectare, you're approximately using, I would think, about 15 million liters of water if it is sugarcane.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Now, with your work, you would have brought it down by what, 50% among those farmers?
You
Approximately.
see, it is it is not exactly that one is trying to conserve the water only, because everything is interconnected. So what we have been saying is that you increase, if you one increases the carbon level in the soil carbon is increased, you can increase the water holding capacity of the soil by 2.5 lakh liters per acre, something like that. That is the figure. So it is not only how much water is one is using, but whether the soil is being moved, going into that direction where it is, the water is getting conserved, and thereby the consumption is also reduced in the in
There
the
is
in the
clearly, therefore, sorry, there is clearly, therefore, a reduction in सिंचाई
with
का
the
पानी.
water,
उसका
absolutely.
कितना होगा? तकरीबन. I mean, your estimate after having worked with thousands of the farmers in that area. Approximate. Is it
At least
30%, 40%?
30% maybe will be reduced, but
Correct.
you see,
I
one is not metering the water actually when it is going in this rich areas, in this water rich areas. So there is no this thing of how
Yes,
much
that's
water
fantastic.
exactly.
I
So
got
how much irrigation is there and how much it depends actually. So
Sanjay,
very,
yeah,
because water
I
is
agree.
still.
See, the point that I think
No,
both of you are
can
making, I'm
we
also
there?
making. Yes, yes, sorry, Tony. Go on, please. You finish.
Sir, actually, for sugar cultivation, we can
हाँ
reduce the water consumption
हाँ जी
by passing the water in the sunset, in the dark time, sunset to sunrise. That means 6
I get
p.m.
true.
to
Simple things
6
like that
a.m.
also help, but that's very small as percentage, na Rameshji.
Yes, sir.
Professor, what
Sir.
happens in these cases, you have to ensure that there is a game-changing set of things like our Pawanji is doing. See, in fact, our Pawan Kumar is a poet. He is also a person who is document. He calls it uh, it's a game. It's called what magic of water, some such thing. Pawanji, thoda
No,
uska
no,
aap,
no, no, no. I named it after two rivers, the two prominent rivers of India. One is it is called Namami Devi Gange and
correct?
Namami Devi Narmade, because
Okay,
both these rivers are revered much more
mhm,
than
correct.
others.
Okay.
So the reverence for water is something that we have discussed in that game, and looking at water as a living entity and having rights of its own. So that is something which we have
Yeah.
discussed, and that is
But
the kind of mindset that one is trying
I
to
get it.
discuss.
Sure. By the way, for the rest of you, our Ramesh Gaudapner is from Hubli, the north of Karnataka. He's been teaching there too. Yes,
Actually, I'm calling
correct.
from Gulbarga, sir, Kalburgi.
Gulbarga, Kalburgi,
Yes,
correct.
sir. Actually,
Uh,
during my summer holidays, I used to go my native place.
how? Hmm.
So instead of passing the my well water to sugarcane, instead of daylight, I used to pass the water in the night time, sir.
Right.
So
Okay.
that the water consumption area will also be increased, and we
I
can
agree.
also reduce the evaporation rate also.
Sure, sure. Now,
I
to
will,
you, see, since you've also been working on water, Rameshji,
yes, sir.
can you tell us, I mean, whether it is from the farming front or from the urban water management front, what,
Uh,
according to you, is demand side management of water?
yes, sir.
Sanjay, am I asking right?
Yeah,
Correct,
yeah.
sir.
Yes. See, demand is very simple. Supply is to get the water to the community. Demand is to design a system for actual need of the community.
Fair. No. Let us hear from him then. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, sir, Rameshji. I'll move to Apurva Shah after that. Yes, Rameshji. Ramesh got up now. He got himself muted. Okay.
You
Apurva,
speak, sir.
let me
Come
turn.
Over.
back.
I hear you. All right. Okay. No problem. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Apurva, are you there? Namaskar to you. I know I'll be meeting you in less than 10 days. Yeah. Yes, Apurva. From Apurva Shah. He's also missing. Wow. Okay. Then I will have to turn to Srikant Narayan Swami. Okay. Srikant, are you there? I'm glad that you've joined with your daughter too. Srikant, namaskar to you. Can you unmute, please? Can you unmute, Srikant? Wow, not bad at all. So many of them have locked out. Niranjan, from your point of view, Niranjan, yeah, there you are.
I have just surfaced because the power just came back. So I don't know what you're
Okay.
referring to.
No. I'm only effectively we are saying you let's say take a hotel like the one that you used to work for 40 years. Today, they are still going and taking all that blessed water from their rooftops and putting it into some recharge pits, quote unquote, saying, hey, we have complied with law. Okay. I walk into one of your hotels, it says we are the third net zero carbon hotel. It doesn't say in the world or in India. Right?
Mm.
What are they doing? I mean, since you are definitely in touch with a lot of the senior management there, what do you think a five-star hotel does on demand side management?
A lot of
I
it's
mean, taking
been
water from borewells is the horror that we don't want to hear. Beyond that, at demand side, what are they doing?
see in the 90s. I mean, I became conscious of water only in 1990, and then I was doing a lot
Correct.
of travel in my various avatars in various divisions.
Mm.
So instead of being confined to the division that I was in, I used to interact with hoteliers and walk through and see what all they're doing and all that. And one of the things we did in '98 was I started looking at thawing the chicken in the morning.
Mhm.
Now, the chicken is kept at -5 degrees in deep freeze. And they used to bring it out at 7 o'clock. And then they used to use 600 liters of water for thawing 200 kgs of chicken, just as an example. Okay. So I said, look, why don't you change your process thinking? So I said, instead of taking it out at 7 o'clock, at 2 o'clock, you shift it to the walk in cooler where the temperature is 8 degrees, from
Mm.
-5 to 8 degrees. And then by 7 o'clock, you bring it to the kitchen where the temperature is about 38 degrees or so. So by the time the cooks come to cook around 10:30, it'll thaw on its own. Okay. And then they were using about 50 liters of water only, right?
Mm.
And this idea has caught on in many locations now. Similarly, I always used to wonder why is the laundry water going into the STP? Why can't we have a circularity with laundry water? So that has commenced. Now, how many chains have adopted it? I don't know. But these ideas take a little time, but it does get multiplied. So
Very good example.
we have to see what kind of opportunities exist in different industries to do these things without any capex. There's too much focus on capex and stuff like that, right?
Exactly.
Sorry to say, but engineers cannot think without capex, and they
One
have.
shot. Yeah. Exactly. One square drive, whatever that is. Yeah, go on. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
similarly, the construction industry, I mentioned in the past, again, I'll repeat it. They draw water from 800 feet, 900 feet for curing. And then when you walk for inspection, you walk on bricks, there's about 2 or 3 inches of water. All that water can be recycled. There are low hanging fruits that needs to be tapped. And then look at industries. I mean, various industries, if I walk through, I'll look for the opportunities. But these are some
So you know
examples which
what
come
you're
to my mind
saying?
very quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah, go on, go on, go on. Please, please.
Uh,
So,
Sir, I would like to add here.
Just one moment. Let our
Okay,
Mr. Khatri finish. Yes,
okay, sir.
yes, please.
so even for homes, I mean, we had a severe water problem in Gurgaon. In the 90s, we didn't get water from the municipality,
Mm.
and we had 5 wells. And out of 5 wells, 3 wells dried up. I was pestering them to do rainwater harvesting. Finally, it happened in 2000. There again, the simple opportunities which we tapped. We had a 25-acre facility, and we had a
That is, you're
storm.
talking of the ITC headquarters in Gurgaon,
No, no,
right?
no. I'm talking of the gated colony where I used to live in Gurgaon.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
25 acres of land. They had a beautiful stormwater drain. During heavy rain, the water used to just hang around in the complex. I said, all you have to do is take advantage of the stormwater drain, make 140 pits, and you solve the waterlogging problem also. And it was done, but not done fully. So, such examples are plenty. Only when you walk around with a different eyes, then only you can identify.
Yeah, the challenge in all that you state, Niranjan, is this. The moment we say demand side, the government knows that this means what you said. From some -8 degrees, there is a certain kind of management which has to necessarily be done as a continuous process. Government doesn't want that. What is my expenditure budget? I want to put this much as money. End of the year, I have to show that the budget has been spent. I have no money for maintenance. There is no budget allocation anywhere in any state or at the panchayat levels for maintenance of anything. Not today. It's been so for 50 years. So the problem with demand side is that it demands too much of this kind of continuous process that Niranjan Khatri wants. What do we do with Niranjan Khatri? Either we banish him or we banish the fellows in the government who don't want it. Which one should we do? Ramesh sir,
So, if I may,
you want to say something,
sorry,
Professor Ramesh?
Hari, if I
Yes,
may
yes,
give you another dimension.
yes.
When I was in CIA for 1 year,
Yeah,
uh,
97, yeah. Mm.
I just didn't focus on renewable energy, which was my prime agenda.
Mm.
But I was interacting with the bankers and saying that, look, there's something called a green building movement. Why don't you give a loan for this and give some kind of discount on that? Then you're doing things on scale. You bring about architectural changes, right? How do we interact with Ministry of Finance and say, look, these things need to be done? I know they are difficult to sell the idea because government, they hear you and then goes up from the other year. But we have to sensitize them on these fronts. Otherwise, what's the point in crying we're a water stressed country, by 2030 we'll be dry, blah, blah. It's already dry, right? How much more dry do you want to become? So we are shedding a lot of crocodile tears, but not doing the right things on a scale.
Right. No, that's again because it requires or demands way too much work post the installation of whatever we want to do. And you're right. When you say apex is so low in these things, all of us will agree that if I went and let me give you the example of one hospital that I was working on for some time ago. And you know what happened there? They had 300,000 liters, Sanjay, as requirement per day. We worked out the math. And then we said, look, you need, I don't know about per day. I will give you for the annual number. And we worked a number of some 100 million, 110 million liters. Then we said, of this, given the 20,000 square meters that they had as roofs, I said, in your 6 months of rainfall, I will give you, and we worked out that number, it became 20 million off on that grid of 110 million. Then on the 90 million, we took the water, the STP water. They had a lovely STP. I mean, they still have. And what happened is they did it for some mandatory purpose, took the water and never used it. They just used it for some lawns and a few other things like that. I said, see, let's put these pipes back. We worked out the cost. The cost was nothing. We spent some 12 lakhs and 14 lakhs. And they saved, therefore, something like 60 million liters on that, simply because of some reapplication that we did. And I can go into details, which is not for this forum. I am saying, therefore, to you, the cost is so incredibly low. And every one of these places can go, shall we say, net zero. For the first time, I'm using that word here today, in a way that we bring the burden on the government down. Is that an argument that will work with the government? That you guys now encourage net zero for all of these bulk water users, industry, commercial buildings, and blah? No incentives needed. But if you did this, the pressure on you to have to supply water will become less. Can we say that somewhere? Do you think that will help?
No.
Wow.
Bluntly, I'm going to say no. Very simple. Because this will very fast become regulations, which will be more paperwork, which will be more bribes, which will be more bypass. It is better to do it the way it is happening now through ESG and the corporates only understanding that they themselves have to conserve water. Putting in regulations will not help at all.
Got it.
And you from getting the government involved is always a major mistake.
I agree with you.
And second, as to Niranjan's point, I tend to disagree. I do not think India is a water-stressed country. I think we have enough water. If we manage the water properly, we have sufficient water. There are going to be areas like Rajasthan, parts of Andhra and all, which are water-scarce areas. But that's probably because they're growing sugarcane and things like that, which they don't need to be doing in those areas. Maharashtra is a classic example. Why on earth are we growing sugarcane in Maharashtra? But anyway, that's besides the point. If we manage the water, and great that people like Pawan Kumar are working with farmers, the water usage in agriculture is way beyond what it should be because we do flood irrigation by and large across India. It can be managed. It can be done. We just need people to, break habits. We've been doing this for generations. Why should we change? Okay, they only realize it when things go wrong. But like others have said, once it gets better, they forget about it again. It gets easier. Is it easier to lapse into the simple ways instead of doing anything a little more?
Is there anyone who wants to disagree with Sanjay Deshpande and tell us, yes, it can work? Snehal, she came in and she popped out. She just come out of one Bombay Municipal Corporation meeting, I think. She did tell us that she will be late, but we will wait for her to come. Apurva, are you back? Can you say hello to us? Can you unmute? Apurva? No. He's happily sort of muted and disappeared somewhere. Anyway, he's coming here for something else. On the 15th, he's in Bangalore, 16th. Chandra, I mean, I'll be happy to hear from you on what you believe can be done. You're working in what, 5-7 districts I think you're working in today. What do you believe can be done on demand side?
Sir, administration is always hopeless. No point in going and again and again reminding them all these fundas and philosophies. So we have to implement smaller way, better way. So as and when we keep doing, then they will start following. Oh, something is happening here. Some Maverick is doing some funny job.
For a moment, I'll leave out government. So you have also been to many corporates. I can tell you, I've been speaking to many of these fellows. I've also been speaking to our, whatever his name is, who heads global engineering for JLN. What is his name? Rajat, right? Rajat Malhotra. You know what he says? He works with about 700 companies in the US, India, and in the APAC area. He says, don't ask me to talk to corporate clients, including people like Microsoft, about demand side, he says. So it's not about any government. Like Niranjan Khatri says, if I have to do demand side, there is a little more extra work that I have to do. If it is supply side, I have a birthright. The government has to give me water. Why am I doing anything? My business is to only do business. The rest of it has to be given as infrastructure to the government. That's what we said. These are the lines that people were spouting for 30, 40 years until possibly the last, say, 5, 6 years now. The government is always defensive. I was sitting with the chief engineer design or something he's called from Bangalore Water Supply Board 3, 4 days ago. This man says he's being apologetic at some point. No, well, we are not wanting to increase the. It was a panel forum. Some of you are there, I think, from this group also. I said, hang on, why are you being defensive? You got to increase price if you have to. No, sir, that is something that the government has to do. I said, you are the government. So you see, even in the government, they are apologetic, Chandra. My point to you, therefore, is it is not just the government. It is in the public, in the corporate sector also. I'm finding that people are unwilling to go and do anything that is to do with simple thing. Like say, for example, our Srikant Narayan Swami here, in one case has taken, I reckon, about 100,000 liters per day, 100 KLD. He has taken wastewater, treated it up to a point, and given it back as top of water for the cooling tower of the chiller plant, right? Now, if it is 100,000, then it is 36 million liters he has saved. He's saving about 36 lakh rupees, therefore, even at 100 rupees or 10 paisa per liter. Now, Srikant, do you want to say hello? I mean, you're not unmuting. Srikant? Okay. So there is another case where RO recovery, these are all on the demand side, Sanjay, if you ask me. RO recovery, if I am today putting as input water 200,000 liters, you are right, Sanjay, when you said India does not have a water shortage. India has a severe, high TDS challenge, barring some parts of South India. You go anywhere, your TDS levels is 800, 1200, 1400. The borewell water in Ahmedabad, there are two people here from Ahmedabad, they get it at 180, 200 feet. In Bangalore, you will get at 1600 feet. You know what you get in Pune. Dehradun is alluvial soil. He has to go some 1,000 feet, 1,400 feet to get water, even if he's got 2,000 mm rainfall. Is that right, Pawanji? You use tube wells. You're not using bore wells, right?
Yeah. I mean, the tube well is there in Dehradun, but if you go to Haridwar, for example, water was at 40 feet, going down to 100 feet.
Correct.
But the quality of water is so bad. So
Can
we
you
have to
explain
dig
that,
a
please?
bore well at 300 feet to get to the correct water, and it is getting contaminated every year. Even the Ganga, which is there, if you do the testing, so it will be high levels of fertilizers and other, so contaminants will be there. Apart from that, if you are close to an industrial area, so what the industry is doing, it is uh, putting the pollutants directly into the groundwater, especially in the months when they can get away with it. So that is also creating, this problem of the contamination of whatever
Sure.
water is there, which is clean water. But at the same time, so when we started working with a couple of farmers who are interested in increasing their groundwater, so what did we tell them? What is the most simplest way to do is to harvest the rainwater. You level your the fields using a laser leveler. Do not let the water flow away from your field, rather let it seep down during those months where it is possible to put it under the water, thereby cleaning the groundwater and also increasing the height of the groundwater.
Yeah.
So that was one of
Okay.
the ways.
We strayed a little bit, Pawanji. I was talking, and you picked up from a slightly different context, a context that you are more familiar with. I was talking about how there is no water shortage. Our water is very high on TDS. Narayan, Srikant here, who is here. Srikant, can you unmute? I'll probably have to bribe your daughter to see that you unmute and come back in. Sandhya, will you talk to him, please? Talk to your dad and ask him to say hello to us, Sandhya. So, Pawan, what I am saying is this. I am saying to you that if I went with this horrible process called RO, right? I get massive amounts of salts, on the reject water, right? If I'm doing, especially on an industrial scale. I know of one plant, it's a pharmaceutical plant in Ahmedabad. They have come to me for something or the other. They take 930,000 liters a day, nearly 1 mld, right? And you know what they get as water? And this is a story I've been telling for some time for some of the people here. This may be not new, but they're getting about 285,000 liters for this 930,000 liters, which means what? About 30% they're getting, Sanjay. Where is the rest of the reject water going? Don't ask. They're putting it into a massive 4-acre kind of thing that they have created within their campus. And this man has the gumption to tell me, no, sir, wo evaporation pe wo ban jayega. What evaporation I want to know, even if you get 45 degrees centigrade in Ahmedabad as, sun in the day. So what our demand side wise, what Srikanth has been doing is he's saying, if your input water is 200,000, I will reduce it by 30,000 liters. He's not claiming too much more, 20% or even less than 20%, right? If that much is reduced, that 30,000 means what? About 10 million liters. That means you save about 10 lakhs if you're a business fellow. See, whether some of us don't like me here in this group when I talk about money. But money has to be spoken about because otherwise people don't buy into it. Whether you're a farmer, industrialist, or you are some regular retail consumer. So to my thing, if we talk demand side, we have to be somehow explaining what these solutions are to people, especially to the government, in a way that the government understands that it is not too much work for them, that they have to move from administration to management. Is that something that will make sense? Will anyone speak on this?
Okay, giving your example, that RO one that you just gave an example, that's just bad RO systems. Because I've seen the same with 95% recovery. So where they maximize the water because they are in an area which is semi-arid. They need the water. So they recover the maximum amount of water they can. This, what you gave an example of about 30-35% is terrible.
His TDS level is 1250. Now, Sanjay, you have to know that the TDS level is about 1250 there. If the TDS was say 600, 700, recovery would be higher.
I've seen it at the example I'm giving you with 95% recovery starts at 2000 TDS. Because they're in a semi-arid area, they need the water. So they put in the systems to recover as much as they could. So they kept running it through till they recover it to 95% of the water is recovered. It can be done. Okay, it's just a question of the cost benefits. At what point does the cost of whatever you're making put you out of the market? Up to that point, they will do it. Okay, they will not do it beyond that point.
Fair enough.
It's just business.
Let me hasten to add, and I will request Srikanth to speak after this.
Hello.
We have Makaran also. Namaskar, Makaranji. Nice to have you. We will request you to speak after a bit.
Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes, Srikanth. See, Srikanth, we have to explain to them what is our Sanjay Deshpande saying. I will accept a solution up to that point where it is economically viable, he's saying. I am saying to him, Srikanth, to you this is, I am saying that if any such challenges thrown at you or me, we know how to get them to recover their money within something like 24 to 30 months, which is an IRR of 40% and more. So,
yes, you are exactly correct.
Yeah, go on. You go on.
Yes, sir.
See, for example, now,
I started that first. See, I was in Bosch. When I was in Bosch, actually, we had we ought to bring that water conservation. On that thing, what I had about the capacitive deionization that we took. And then first we started with for drinking water. So that we'll have essential minerals in that. So that we started like that.
Right.
Afterwards, we had water cooled chillers. So we had a lot of cooling towers were there. So for the cooling towers, the fresh water, to add fresh water, we have taken from the sewage treatment plant, which is the treated sewage we have used, and then that we have converted into good water. It is more than it was about some 600 ppm was the TDS. So we have made just water and then use for the, so that by doing that we brought down that fresh water consumption for the cooling towers, which was that 15,000 liters per hour. We have gone for that CDI system. So it has brought down very drastically about 6 lakhs liters per day on the operation. Because we had a very, it is about some 5,000 tons were available for the water cooled chillers. To meet that evaporation for fresh water, we have used this. So
Sanjay, that was for you and for Pawanji. Go on, Shrikant.
So this was, and then we have saved water on as because we were putting the ESG and then scope 1, scope 2, to meet that scope 1, scope 2. We have used this system and then brought down the freshwater consumption.
You see that, Sanjay?
Yeah.
No, I agree completely with him. I have no problems with what he's saying, but I would point out one simple thing. I'm working with Aditya Birla Group. He's working with Bosch. We are working with companies that understand, which is not the 90% of industries in India. Okay, these are the MNCs that care about ESG, which is what I said in the beginning.
Right. Yeah,
it's not. By the way, he's also the same thing he has done for Birla is also just now the same as AB Group.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why I requested Shrikant to speak is this. I agree with Sanjay that we do not want this to be hustled and promoted by some government guy with a danda. No mandate and compliance, and which is regulatory. It has to be a market-led intervention, as all good things in the country beyond water also have happened. It will only be market-led things that will make the consumer want to take to it on his own. That means the economics have to be right in the farming sector primarily, because 90% of water is going there. How do I therefore make that happen? There is one humongous challenge. I don't even know how to address that on the what is it called, on the farm front. We are doing, I mean, the blind men and the elephant challenge. All of us are doing a little bit of something. We all don't want to see what the elephant is. We refuse to see it sometimes, I think. Makaranji, you want to add anything? Then I will turn to our Dr.
I see.
Snehal.
Basically, in my overall career, which when I was the largest was Reliance, wherein a lot of properties were there. I has personally got involved. The management of, even now they are enjoying the fruits. All the rainwaters, we used to in rain time we used to have a filters and go into the usable water tank. Then if it is overflowed, we used to send it to the ground, the borewell, to the ground borewell and the pit and all that.
Yeah, but why will it overflow? Somebody there would have said, I don't want to spend on storage capacity cost.
But then what we have created a pit with kind of a generally we use into the borewells, a regeneration pit we create into the villages. For example, as a personal level, my own village, what we can where the borewell, we have taken these all water which has been coming and put into that area, and then kind of a septic tank kind of a scenario wherein water can be done. Then I am connected with lot of groups wherein especially in farmlands, what we are doing it, asking the people to create a kind of a holding pond, which actually helps to the lot of farmers to take a second crop.
Now that is still on the supply side, even if it is renewable, Makaranji. We are talking about hard demand side. Hard demand side. Any examples you want to give us before I move on to somebody else who can help us?
Okay.
We'll stay there. Snehal Donde, I know you are in a meeting with the municipal corporation, so you must be tired. You are doing this every day with somebody. Are you meeting with any success on these concerns, Snehal? Over to you.
Yeah.
Belated happy returns of another day.
Thank you so much, everyone. So it is like since morning I met the mayor of municipal corporation today also, yesterday also. Then I met collector of suburban Mumbai today, and at the same time I have submitted some grievance in the commissioner's office, because at hook or crook I want to ensure that the circular economy we all keep talking about, but where is it in picture? Another thing is about, we talk about STPs, and when we just now when we are talking about demand and supply, our distribution system, our accountability of water, everything is in a mess. Because as we see today, suppose Mumbai, when we get the water, it is given through different sources, but while they give it through the different sources, first it will go to some private companies. Actually BMC also supplies, and there is some private parties like STEM is there. So in that case, what they do, that every time they will try to show that BMC's line is having less pressure, and that is why that STEM will supply. But the source is same from where BMC supplies, and the STEM gives the water. Now STEM gives for 8 rupees and BMC gives for 1 rupee. This is the difference, but then that is how the strategy goes, that showing that the pressure is less in the pipeline of BMC, that the STEM water is supplied then. And moreover, in all these areas, lot of industries are there. Today it is happening that most of the water, when we say about constructing a dam, earlier the dam construction, or maybe when it was Baba Saheb Ambedkar's period, when the policies were made and the dam use was basically considered, that was mainly for the agriculture purpose. But today if we see, the dams are mostly built to suffice the purpose of industry.
You're going away. Let's stick
Yeah,
today. I mean, we know multiple chances are there in water, and
yeah,
especially when we talk cities.
yeah,
When you have gone and with any of these officers in Thane, you've been talking to people
yeah,
in the Mumbai Municipal Corporation also.
yeah.
What is the response you get when you ask them for example, na, I know it is in the Fort area. I won't know where
See,
exactly. There is a
see,
DSM office of the Jal Nigam, of the Water Supply Board, right? How effective is the Jal Nigam Board's DSM division? Have you been there? Do you think you can get that
See, that
DSM
is what
division
I
in
was coming
Mumbai
to the
revived?
point. See, everybody has a different issue. That's why I was coming to the point that why did I meet the mayor or why did I meet the collector? The reason was the same. I was coming to the point. Then when it is coming to the demand of water, now every time we are going ahead with the construction of dams to ensure that the water is enough available to Mumbai. Now in that case, like even the desalination plants are coming up. Somebody was putting in the chat also, can we discuss about the desalination plant? So whenever it is coming now to the demand, either we are going ahead with the dam construction or desalination and all these things. So my reason of meeting collector or the mayor, because today we have to look at all these things in a very holistic manner. Just in isolation we will talk about something, it won't work, because one thing is impacting the other, and the strategies and the policies which are being made, or the decisions which are being taken, there we have to pitch in that if at all we have suppose 2000 rain, so what are we doing about that? Because all the demands are going to be met by all kinds of things, like if we should have a water conservation system, we should have recycling and all these things. So then only, and what kind of water should be supplied for industry and agriculture, what should be the potable water. So unless and until, Hari Haran ji, we have to think about that, how Jal Shakti is also saying that we don't have scarcity of water, but we have water management scarcity. So we have to look at how we have to have the management aspect of it. And then, like last time as somebody was telling, I don't know whether in this forum it was, no, not in this, in MIT, when I was attending the workshop, they also informed that in 3 states already digital metering system of for the water meter, that is being worked out, that every city will be now water supply will be metered, means digital meter will be there. With every sensors will be put, every drop of water you are going to be charged. So These are all things coming into the picture only because of the demand increasing and to manage the thing. So how are we going to deal with all this? We have to understand and accordingly. That's the reason that today what is happening, the jurisdiction. Suppose I'm in Mumbai today, suburban, when I am suburb Mumbai, but it is having a collector's jurisdiction as well as a municipal corporation, MMRDA. So everybody working in a different manner for their water availability or the water management. This is also a very complex issue. So all these administrative thing also we have to think about, because when it comes to industry demand, like MMRDA is also supplying to the industry, BMC is also supplying to the industry. So many things are into the picture. So we have to think about as per the requirements from the different areas, as well as the sources which are available. So just talking in one direction, like earlier how it was not much difficult to manage, like one administration, and that was doing the water supply business. But today there are different jurisdictions, different authorities, those who are doing the same thing, but buying from one source and selling to different sources, different places. So this is the situation which I can just say. And for that, today
No,
I have.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but when you talk, let us say, to the commissioner in Thane or elsewhere in a corporation, and you tell him, look, why are you wanting to bring in additional water from another dam at 5%, 2% of that cost in my city or that ward or whatever? I will establish and prove to you that my, what is it called, the demand in that city or the ward will drop by 20%, 30%. Are you willing to spend this small, in finance with small amount for doing such a work? Is that something that you can take up with them?
See, let me tell you, when we are talking about this water supply and we are talking about talking to the commissioner or anybody, we are forgetting that in the name of per person per capita, the water supply is there. But we are holding a lot of water in our overhead tanks in every house. And at the same time, we have borewells in the residential complexes. So
Yeah.
no accountability of all these water together. Neither the commissioner also can help in that. So that is the reason.
No, we
And
don't want.
see, again, I'm going out of the context definitely, but then it will make a sense, because all these waters, whether it is borewell or I'm getting an extra water in my house in the tanks, or the water supply which is coming, but ultimately they are all generating the sewage. Again, the same kind of thing coming, that when the sewage reuse can be done, that also makes a kind of it can help in the sufficing the purpose of getting the water. So all these things, that's why I said that commissioner, collector, everybody has to come together to sit and discuss about the thing, that how we are going to manage about this demand and supply. Because as demand is going on, and then we are only going ahead with constructing dams, or we are constructing desalination plants, or then we are saying that the from sewage plants that we are going to get water for reuse. So from all these angles we have to think today, that and then we are not talking about at all rainwater harvesting. Very less rainwater harvesting is there. Yes.
Well, we are 5 minutes past the hour, 65 minutes now. Sanjay, yes.
Can I just say something?
Go on. Yes.
To answer you, Hari. Look, I'll give an example of Gurgaon. There was somebody here, I think Niranjan was originally from Gurgaon.
Yes.
Gurgaon, everybody got together and said, okay, let's try to conserve water. All the collectors, commissioners, etc., and they mandated that only treated sewage water could be used for construction. That's the law in Gurgaon.
Yes, I agree.
Correct?
Correct.
Now, if you go on site, most builders are not doing that. Why aren't they doing it? Because the STPs give you rubbish quality water because they're cutting corners at the STP management.
No, Sanjay, let me explain that.
Okay, so
hold on.
So what I'm saying is it's easier for the builder to bypass all the government rules, pay a bribe, and take groundwater for the construction, which is what is happening.
Well,
okay, so I'm just saying it's not going to work unless we do it from the corporate end. themselves.
Let
Government will not
let me
resolve the problem.
let me put it like this to you. The challenge with the construction water is if it is for blending of concrete, I need water of the kind that you and I drink. TDS has to be less than 200. TSS and all, you forget. All those systems, the rest of my whole big challenge is TDS, right? Even in borewell water.
Yeah.
Now, the other is that I can use this water for curing. So what we are saying, even with Credai here, last week I have had a meeting here in Bangalore, Sanjay. See, what we are saying now is for only this, for your curing alone, you do this. Just now, for example, somewhere in Gunjur area, I mean, okay, some part of Bangalore, there is one apartment that's coming up, which has 12 towers. Each tower is 1.2 million square feet for 1,200 apartments, right? I mean, flats or whatever to one tower. This guy's need is phenomenal when it comes to construction water for the next 5 years. He's just now at the at the basement level of the third tower. So what I am advising these people or telling them about is that, look, use borewell water. I have no problem with you using a certain amount of borewell water. But how do I now make this different varieties of water address your different needs during this project construction? Labor is one of them. Of course, blending of concrete, the third one being this, and there are two other varieties of water like this. So, Sanjay, I'll put it like this. I'm not defending any builder or anybody like that. The same thing happens in the steel sector. If you go to a steel company, I mean manufacturing plant, you'll see the same challenge. You go to, like I told you, you go to a pharmaceutical plant, I have the same challenge. There are different varieties of water. While there are different varieties of solutions too, all I am saying, and I think we all three agree, Pawanji included, we are saying that first we must do this low capex, high impact kind of demand side, whether it is treat and reuse of water, whether it is rainwater harvest and whatever, that's probably 15, 20%. If I take a high density, high rise building, it will not even come to some 8%, 10% rainwater harvest, as the support system for the year. So I'm saying that first we exhaust all of these, then we look for supply side. Is that something that we can accept? I'm actually becoming a little defensive at the end of this conversation. I can tell you that 90% of this water, in many projects, it's been done by teams that I am mentoring. I don't do business as such today. There are a couple of them here I am seeing who are doing such work. I am saying that 90% of your water can be got without your using bore wells, without tankers, without grid water. And these guys are showing it in companies, Sanjay, just now. It's happening. So but then, what therefore should we do on the demand side first before we actually say, hey, okay, after all this, how much is the new fresh water that I require? Is that a system of approaching the water challenge, something that we can, shall we say, inject into the administrator's blood? Is the question, Pawanji.
Yeah, I think
Administrator has to think like that.
absolutely. So I think the challenge is very, very complex because it is linked with the human behavior not only of the consumers but also the policy planners, bureaucrats, politicians. So in this context, the what you have said is perfectly fine, but at the same time, if our politicians and bureaucrats are looking at the supply side as a opportunity.
I'll stop you for a minute. I'm not talking the government. I'm talking about companies and bulk water users, apartments,
Sure.
You live in an apartment, I know.
Yes,
For example, if guys like these, 55% of your city, my city's water is residential.
yes.
If we can do it, why do we need the government to do anything at all? That way I'm saying. I'm sorry, I stopped you because I want you to address the solution, the challenge from this context of the bulk water user being the Vidhata, the shaper of destiny.
Yeah, because I think the issue has been the depletion of the, whatever water resources are there, and it's becoming a resource thing. So even in an apartment, what I have seen is that, this bore well was not enough. So one had to get water from outside. But at the same time, the consumption of water by the residents was not up to that mark where everyone is coming together and saying that yes, we'll be managing our demand properly, we'll be taking care of the water that is already available to us in a sane way. Neither the maintenance facilities or the ones who look after this thing are plugging the leaks or the leakages which are there in a proper way. So it becomes very complex actually,
Fair
and
enough.
put everything together in a way that the behavior ultimately changes, because if that is not changing, and as I said in the right in the beginning, the behavior changes only when there's a crisis. So has to be a
Yep.
crisis at some period of time, and that is only which takes care thing for a short term period. As
Yeah.
soon as the crisis is over, again people are back to square one. So I don't know how to overcome that challenge, and how can collectively people do that,
All
especially
right.
when one is living in very stressed environments, and
Mm.
water is also there's a lot of stress actually, even like in the cities, for example, in the apartments which is there, especially the high rise apartments.
Mm.
So always this thing is there, and so uh, people, it is not that people have not looked at ingenious ways of recycling the waste RO water, for example, or whatever is being used at the their level, but the implementation is still far from.
Yeah, 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 fair enough, fair enough. I will. Can I request? It's 40, nearly over 70 minutes now. Vishwanath, if you're there. I know, but if you can say hi to her. There you are. Wonderful. Thanks, Vishwanath. The last time I said I just there are times when you say I don't want to speak. I just want to listen. So I didn't want to uh, ask you to speak the last time. But what is your take on this? And the question is this: if we are able to get bulk water users to simply understand that a lot of the work on this side, on treat and reuse, on the rainwater harvest, some things on compensating aerators, measuring of water, and so on, is done, they will not need more than, say, 30% of the water from whatever the other conventional sources. Easily 70% of the water can be met. Where, for example, Sanjay was talking about 90 or 100 LPCD, we'll be talking only 50 or 40 LPCD that is needed as fresh water. If that is, I assume that the LPCD total demand is, say, 135, 140, 150, whatever. Is that something that we can bring about, with some constant inform, educate, communicate kind of campaigns without the government having to do much beyond, let us say, that DSM office being swanked up, a decent committed officer being put there who will energize the place to see how he can add value to other groups which want to see that this DSM kind of consciousness is brought about among consumers. Is that something that is viable, Vishwanath?
It's already happening at a particular scale. There's speed that we need to generate, but already demonstrations are there enough to suggest that
Correct.
we can understand, as the point was being made, first we need to meter so that we understand how much we are consuming, and then we need to figure out what the price of that water would be, which would send signals for ceilings of capture, and then augment the supply through rainwater harvesting and wastewater reuse, right? So all of it is interlinked. Where it works best is when we determine the unit, an appropriate unit of engagement, right? So, because we need an institutional framework and we need a legal framework, then we need the technical and financial frameworks. So, just to give you very cogent examples, a residents association, if it is empowered, for example, first of all, institutionally, you give powers to the residents association. Second, you give them the legal powers, for example, to ban private borewells and to say that we will have only community borewells, we will meter the water, we will then price the water. This powers, if they are given to the association, and if they are mandated to set up wastewater treatment plants, which can be then reused, the treated wastewater, then it's possible for the associations to be able to enforce it, the good associations, right? And those demonstrations are already there, and we need to scale that up. And there are already good examples of industries and others who have shown that there is a ceiling. But I was really interested in what you call demand management. Unfortunately, demand management was not talked about enough, no? To understand for us clearly what do we mean by demand management. Is that we want to live within a particular ceiling of water? We have to say that 70 LPCD or 100 LPCD or 135. That's what we have for fresh water. And if so, can we define it for particular ecological and environmental regions based on the resource availability? Right? If a area has much resources, then perhaps it's higher. But if it's very water scarce, then obviously the demand management has to address the scarcity value of water and be able to peg a number, right? And so that number is very crucial. And I'm also not very disappointed with the government. Let's say the government is sending many signals. In Bangalore, we have reduced unaccounted for water from 51% to 27%. But now the next level is very difficult because it's going to take a lot more money to get it done. There's already metering mandated for every set of flats. I mean, every flat has to have its own meter. There's mandate for wastewater treatment plants. There's mandate for rainwater harvesting. The regulatory steps are already in place. We need to do the persuasion, which is the communication, as well as the economic signaling, which is already happening because the opportunity cost of water is now getting so high that people are paying serious attention to it. And I'm sure that it will gain speed as we go along.
Yeah, right. Actually,
see, this
Sanjay,
is exactly what I was saying in the beginning. People adapt. If you're in a water stress area, you will use less water. If you're in a water plenty area, you're going to use 300 LPCD. Complicated that bit. As people get wealthier, they use more water. Let's be honest about that. We're going to have to figure out how to manage the water, which is your demand part of it. Okay. The supply is pretty much maxing out. Unless agriculture improves, we're not going to get new sources of water. The efficiencies is in agriculture.
So Sanjay, sorry for interrupting you, but you're absolutely right in the sense that we have to have a basin level approach, right? In the basin, there's a demand for agriculture, for industrial, urban use, as well as domestic rural use, right? So then we have to optimize at that scale. When we optimize at that scale, we need the right institution there and we need the right legal framework there at that river basin institution so that we optimize water. Otherwise, if we sub-optimize, it's like putting Band-Aid on chicken pox, right?
Agree. And that is where we are today, because the fact of the matter is 75% is rural and agriculture, that's the vote bank. So there is a limit to what can be done by the rest of us. The focus has to be on agriculture and corporates as much as possible. Corporates are forced to do it simply because they pay more for water and they have realized that water is an issue for them in the future. But we are going to have to deal with agriculture at some point. And I don't know how to deal with it, to be honest.
Well, I'll tell you, because it's a business risk for corporations, so therefore now they're getting serious about water. It's not just a water risk, it's a business risk. Your business is impacted,
it is.
Your marketing and your profit is impacted, and that is the best signal that therefore corporates then invest. But when it comes to pricing water, there is no appetite to charge for water. There's appetite to pay for water, and people are already paying for water. The poorest pay the highest price for water, but there's no appetite to charge for water. And that's something that is the negative dividend of democracy. We need to figure that out. I'm not blaming the politicians, but that's the way it is. And so therefore, we need to figure out what to do about that, right?
Absolutely.
For that, therefore, we need to create institutions at river basin scales, not the big river, but even a major tributary, place that and drop the river basin plan for allocation between these various demands. And then manage the demand within those ceilings that are available.
So back to you, Desh. Tell me how that existing DSM office of the Water Supply Board in every city, Bangalore is only one of them, can be energized. What do you think we should do to make that place a vibrant, alive division of the Water Supply Board?
No, so I think they are doing their best. They're punching above their weight already. No, so I'm not so negative about the state as Chandra and others are. So, but I'll tell you what, you have to also understand the constraints under which they work, right? So they are busy firefighting. They have no time to plan, design, and think, right? So we need to reform the institution from within to think about who will deal with these bigger scale problem beyond what they do on a daily basis, right? So that kind of a cell needs to be there. And we need to create more cells, like we need a wastewater reuse cell, we need groundwater cells, which are particularly targeted with goals which are to look at demand, right? So that institutional tweaking is crucial. Plus, we need to think beyond the city. No, we can't optimize at the city scale. We have to optimize at a higher level. And that thinking is still not there in any state. So we have to build a narrative for that.
No, I'm entirely with you. All I'm saying is, therefore, I'm supplementing what you're saying. DSM must have officers for each of these streams of activity.
Correct.
Because they all come under this larger bucket of DSM. But the government doesn't seem to want to put some, spin on this because it's so important. Somehow it's not. I mean, you have seen that DSM office in Water Supply Board. Pathetic, no attention really given. I mean, I also like to not be negative about things that the government does. I have often said this.
Hari, if I may interject.
Yes, Niranjan, please.
Government of India did a fantastic thing when we shifted from 10 rupees bulb to CFL bulb and then to LED bulbs. Okay.
Yes.
Now, taking a cue from that, when I go to Mumbai, I have gone to new buildings, old buildings, and I'm horrified that when I go for a small job, 20 liters of water comes down when there's a flushing is done. So there should be some kind of rule across the country that old fittings need to be retrofitted. And B did a very good thing that they bought these LED bulbs on a large scale and sold it for 10 rupees or 15 rupees or something. So there's an opportunity for the plumbing industry and others to sell to the government and optimize water through this use. Huge amount of water is being wasted.
But Hari, we should also remember that there is something called Jevons paradox. If you fix a little bit of water, it is not that it's not going to be consumed, right? So therefore, you have to send more signals than just efficiency for effectiveness, and that's the bigger challenge for us.
I know. I agree with you on that. Well, it's close to 90 minutes. We have another 5-6 minutes. Snehal, obviously you're listening to all the people here. You are one person, Snehal Donde, who is working with directly every day, spending your own money with all these commissioners and other people who can bring some potential influence in such decision-making processes. Snehal, can you tell us what you believe can be done in order to see that the DSM side of what we do as activity, whether it is in the government or outside, and you work in, more with the government, therefore I'm asking you on that side of it. Is that possible, Sneh? Wow, I asked a question before us. There you are. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, actually, I'm traveling, but then still I'm listening to everything. Mainly, I see today the complexity is, as Vishwanath was telling about, that there has to be different cells doing different work, and then it would be institutionalized and then things. But I have found the same thing being a very complicated in BMC, Bombay Municipal Corporation, different department. There is no coordination between each other, and they work in a very isolated manner. Suppose if it is a pipeline networking or water supply or the source getting water transported from long distance and all those things. So there is no coordination. As from beginning we all are talking about that water management, if that is being that can be very well what I must say, that a controlled manner, that some water management policy, like just now Khatriji also said one thing, giving an example, that on the flush, that if it becomes mandatory, that how it has to be a retrofit, old ones have to be changed with something new, where with the pressure only when this can be flushed, so less water would be required. So I think these are the interventions which are required. And main what I am today thinking, and the reason for the same was that today I met mayor or commissioner or the collector one by one, because collector was putting it on the commissioner. He was telling, madam, all these things comes under commissioner. So did you talk to commissioner? I said, yes, I went and met commissioner also. Then I said, then what is the problem? He said to me. I said, then commissioner also has certain kind of limitations that she was saying. Then I went to the mayor. So that in the standing committee, when all the corporators and others, they all come and sit in one Mahasabha and they were discussing. Today there was a standing committee also. So I said it has to be now more like educating all the corporators, in the mayor, as well as when these, because they sit with all these authorities to give them an answer. So there they have to realize that what are the today issues, as well as what is the kind of situation of our sources today, water sources, how much is the polluted sources are. Because if I'm sitting in Mumbai, our all rivers are gutters, not at all a river, and they are not giving us water at all. And
Sure.
we are buying water from long distance, so you can energy how you can understand how much money we are pouring in energy as well as for the water supply.
Got it.
So now it is that we have to only, the way I'm trying to coordinate between these three authorities, so that
Yeah.
they all come together, they sit, they do some kind of a pondering on this key, what is required and how
Yeah.
we can manage these things.
Sure. I get that. Tanmay Khare, do you want to say something? Namaskar to you. Tanmay? Hanji? Yes, please. Hanji. Tanmay ji? Yes, please. You must speak. You are unmuted. You can speak. Okay. Not speaking. I'll do one thing. Since you're all here, indulge me, shall we say. I'm going to show you this one very, very quick kind of 7 slides as a presentation, which Sanjay and I and Pawanji put together. And the idea of showing you this is like just now, like Snehal said, if there is something that I can take to these people, to people who will want to listen to such things, what would it be? So here we are. I will look at this. Provides what does supply side do? It gives you solid things like dams, reservoirs, clears promise of meeting such growing demand everywhere in every city. Planners prefer this, the easiest way of doing these things. However, SSM is better characterized as a traditional, very heavy approach. We know this in terms of money, in terms of work, in terms of everything. We have seen it for 70 years. What is therefore the limitation of it? High cost, of course, and waste, inefficient water use. Sustainability is, thrown to the winds, right? Now, why is therefore demand side to be looked at? Focuses on managing within the water that is available. That is, like Sanjay also said it. How do I first define demand for myself within the community? It, of course, improves efficiency, manages consumption without increasing supply. DSM can be lower in terms of capital cost. Obviously, it's not even 5% of any regular SSM kind of project. Behavioral change is a major part. But then to me, behavioral change is not so much about individuals having to do anything. There is at the management level things to be done, but not at the level of where I take inconvenience or discomfort. What supply side offers? This is what it offers: engineering control, faster results, infrastructure reliability. We know all of these things. You will find this, multiple people talking about it. Some examples of these: how do I do these things? Bhubaneswar did this one, the first one. PRVs. In fact, Sanjay mentioned it somewhere about, hammer, the hammer impact or the effect on pipes and such things. We heard Vish talking about how from 51% it has come down to 27%. What does that mean? That there is therefore the possibility of my giving you water regularly without my having to stop, potentially, that is. Irrigation, behavior change, of course, in terms of what I can cut, efficient fixtures and retrofits. You take our PCB in Karnataka, you take any PCB, I think ours is the best, Karnataka State Pollution Control Board. All the 4 things, whether it is RWH, IoT, whether it is, of course, wastewater treatment and reuse of it, and aerators, all 4 have been set in the system here in the case PCB. How do we use it is another challenge. Higher rates for efficient. If you go to Telangana, you pay 300 rupees today per kiloliter. In some other states, you're paying, in Goa, you pay some ridiculous, absurd amount. How do we change that in a way that it also helps is one part of the story. I'm not saying tariff is going to, magically transform things. Therefore, how do we bring a combination is what we asked. I thought I will show this to all of you. And Snehal, if you want to, I can send this to you. I'll put it. Yes, we will share the presentation, Srikanth. We'll do that because if you all start working on it, it's like in the group yesterday or day before, I was writing something and there was this other person from Singapore who wrote in and said, "Hey, this is very good to hear. Sanjay, you remember this? We are talking about how if there is something that it can be done in one city as river management, smart river management, shall we say, can it be taken by somebody who's got Mula and Mutha, somebody who's got Musa in Hyderabad, somebody who's got Vashisht in Vadodara, or someone who's got you go to Tones and Rispana if I'm in Dehradun in Pawanji's city. So I'm saying we need to look at how we can exchange these things and make something happen out of it all. Yes, Any last notes from Pawanji and then with Sanjay, both of you. And anybody else, of course, who wants to say something. I don't know if we have gained on. Yes, Pawanji. Have we gained anything, honestly, today? Pawanji.
Thank you so much. And I think we are done for the day, and it's very good discussion that we had. Definitely, one has to keep on innovating as we face the challenges. And I think that is also the way ahead, whether it is innovating with meeting the government officials or whether it's finding cost-effective ways of technological transformative, techniques and methodologies. But what I have also seen is that there's a lot of confusion actually with the staffing which is there, which is supposed to manage, and there's always a tussle of which comes first, whether it's the demand or whether it's the supply, and whether mostly it is the supply part which is winning because of the high amount of money which is getting involved. But anyway, we have to keep on finding ways of looking into what is possible practically. Thank you.
Sanjay. UK is also here.
Yeah. Okay. So on my end, I'll say a couple of things. For urban, I think the easiest way to reduce water usage is to go to 24/7. Because 24/7 will reduce what per capita water usage. Then the 135, 150, 300, etc., that's prevalent across cities. For agriculture, I don't know. It's not my field. It's how to minimize that. I don't know. For the government end, I agree with Vishwanath that it has to be done at the basin level. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Take a simple thing. I'll give you just an example. It just shows you the complexity. It answers what Snail said as well. Pune every summer has a hyacinth problem. The river get full of hyacinth. Mosquitoes breed. Every year they spend crores pulling up all the hyacinth. Okay. But they stop at the city limits. If you go upstream and out of the city limits, there are military installations that have tributaries that go into the Mula Muta that use hyacinth to treat their sewage. So the seeds are not going to the river every year. So because they're limited to the city, the problem is never solved.
Sure.
Okay, so we have to look at it from a broader perspective of how to manage everything, whether it's DSM or not. The other problem for DSM is why it doesn't really work is because every few years the officer gets transferred. Just when he has developed the skill set to help, his term is over and he gets moved to somewhere else. Okay.
Got it. I got it. Vishwanath, anything that you want to add as a last note? I will ask UV Krishna also to speak after you.
No. I don't have to add anything. I think I'm fine.
Thanks. Yeah. Krishna, do you want to add? Nice to have you. Lovely to have you. To the rest of you, let me tell you, UV Krishna, are you going to unmute and tell us you are an ancient man on technology? UVK. No, he's not unmuting again. Krishna, can you unmute? Yes. No, he's not. Yeah, no, he's not doing that. See, Krishna is writing on the chat box you saw that much of what we are talking about as demand side also applies for energy. And he's been working on the energy field from 1984 or so. He's arrived in 1984. He worked with the C.K. Prahalad and others. Anyway, so the thing is, I think we'll leave it there. I don't know, honestly, if we have gained anything today, but somehow my only take on this is that demand side has completely been ignored by whether it's the private sector or the public sector or the government sector, all three. I can't understand why, because it is so easy on the pickings. There you are, Krishna. Krishna, can you say hello to us? Yes. Yeah, Namaskar. We can hear you well. I was doing a round of views of you.
Yeah, I came in the end of your session and I saw those 7 slides. I really feel that I think if you juxtapose this with respect to energy scenario, all the 7 are valid. And you also asked a question a little while earlier, is there any good takeaway from this presentation or this session today? I certainly feel, I think you've given a way forward in those 7 slides, and it's definitely possible to do that. And just to add a point, when it comes to energy, in the corporate sector, my experience has been the CEOs, the owners don't care too much about sustainability. As long as you're making some additional profits, it has some charm in that for them. Okay. Otherwise, it's more of a PR exercise than a necessity for them to do. At the manager level, at the implementation level, if that is within the let's say dictum of the organization, the individual manager takes up to that. He doesn't go one step beyond. Okay, so what is there in that audit, he will get it done, etc., etc. So I think this is limited to such requirements. Importantly, what we need to do is the message has to reach the CEOs or the owners or the decision makers within 2 minutes. So if you're running a facility where your energy bill is 100 crore, you can make easier by DSM, let's say 20 crore. You're able to communicate the message we supply that. On the supply side, it will cost much more. You're able to communicate this in a very short span with the right person. Demand side management is on for certain segments. Otherwise, we can keep on, trying. But I think to hit the nail on the head, you need to go to the right people, communicate very, emphatically, short span, get moving. Okay. Thank you.
Always good. Always. Yes, Niranjan. Always good to hear from you, Krishna. Yes, Niranjan.
Quick input. 2008, the government mandated that the corporate sector must reveal what is their energy consumption and how they're reducing it. And they made it mandatory that one of the engineers must focus on energy efficiency, and they had to go through a program. Okay. And now it's featured in the annual report. Something of that nature needs to be done so that the water also comes in the annual report.
ESG comes, these days ESG has both water and energy, but then ESG compliance is not for more than 1,000 companies or so. You're right, absolutely right. But then how do we get that to happen? This is a question we have been asking.
Even if it happens in a graded manner, that's the beginning. Yeah. That's the kind of conversation we should be having with the regulators.
Sanjay, as a CEO, what do you think? Especially, yeah.
See, it is coming. ESG is the driver right now, especially for those industries that are exporting out of the country. It is the main driver. It is going to take time. It's usually spreading by example. Okay, it's not going to be fast, and I always disagree with getting the government involved. Because I have found that the moment the government involves, a loophole is created because corporates can pay
and it's a gateway for corruption
and then not do anything. So I prefer not to go the government route. It's better to do it through industrial groups, etc. It's a better approach in the long term.
Got it. And it's not like it's not happening. I think Srikant Narayan Swami is one standing example for such work. Nikki he's doing some work, Vish is doing in a different area. I know Ramesh Banagar is doing some work, but slightly different from a direct approach to defining such challenges on demand side. So enough people doing it. It's a question of how we have more of it and more focused, whatever. If I walk into a corporate office, and if the feel must be such that the guy who is the water manager for DSM, for demand side, must be respected. How do we get that to happen? Then that guy's work will also get to be recognized for what it is. Anyway, I think I'll stop there. Thank you so much for making it happen. I'll share that, Sanjay and Pawan, if you don't mind, I'll share that deck also with the rest. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.